fuel choice that even rivals can agree on? Now that's worth the hype. Cheaper, cleaner, and homegrown. Pump it up with unleaded 88.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
My wife and I went to go see Hamilton on Broadway.
It Ain't Right Tour 2024.
Oh my God, it is amazing. We saw it. Oh, it changed me it changed me. Now, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, I ain't gonna like this.
Sebastian Maniscalco, live on stage in Des Moines, Wells Fargo Arena, December 15th, 2024. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit sebastianlive.com.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to Murph and Andy on Iowa Everywhere, alongside Andy Fales and AD. I'm Keith Murphy, and that Sebastian Maniscalco concert, depending on when it is, could be in the Casey Center. Beginning July, Wells Fargo Arena changes its name to the Casey Center. Big announcement today.
That is a big announcement. Yeah, it's it is a Sunday night, unfortunately.
What month?
December 15th, Sunday, December 15th.
Oh, it's 2024. Okay, that's still Wells Fargo Arena. Do you know how long it's been called the Well or Wells Fargo Arena? It's kind of snuck up on me.
Well, since the very beginning, right?
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Okay, it's been 20 years of Wells Fargo Arena.
20 years. Yeah,
okay.
the Casey Center beginning July 1. So
I like that better. That I honestly like that better. There's another Wells Fargo Arena out there, I think in Philadelphia.
The nickname will have to change, though. I mean, it's just so
Well.
commonly referred to as the Well. We're going to the Well. But, yeah, it won't be that. We'll come up with something else.
The Case?
Yeah, the Case. The Case. Yeah, you try to get in early. Let me put the first one out there. The Case.
That doesn't work. I don't like that.
If they have the pizza there, that will help. They have to have the pizza there, right? At the Casey Center?
You would think so.
Like a dedicated concession stand for Casey's Pizza.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not the
Including
breakfast pizza, though, because then everything would be too late.
Maybe. Sports and more straight ahead. The Cyclones find a way. That's what good teams do. The Hawkeyes crap the bed at Michigan State. And Texas fans act the fool and get rewarded for it. We are in the Channel Seed studio, brought to you by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. But now it's high or low since the last show. Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax in Ankeny. Simplifying wealth. High or low? Andy, you get first dibs here.
Well, I just had the best weekend. I really did. I feel like I've just been cutting and pasting weekends because the weather is helping out so much. But we went out for a fancy dinner on Friday night with some friends just because, you got nice clothes that hang in your closet like all year and need to earn their keep every now and then. So we got dressed up and we went, and this shows you how authentic we are here, right? Okay. Luca is not a sponsor. They don't pay us anything. Went there for dinner on Friday night, and I'd forgotten what a wonderful restaurant that was. We had a great time there. It was really cool. They have a prefix menu with 4 courses. It was really reasonably priced. It was wonderful. And then we went over to the Halloween pop-up bar, Disturb, which is
Did you say Halloween pop-up bar?
Yeah, it's Good News Darling, but they change the theme sometimes for the holidays. Okay. And at Halloween, it's called Disturb, and they have like this whole Halloween drink list, and it was just really great and fun and decorated very, very cool. So we had a great night on Friday, and then, of course, we went to the game on Saturday. So I was a little worn out yesterday. I'll be very honest with you, but it was worth it. It was like one of those weekends where you're like, okay, this is why I do all the heavy lifting the rest of the year, so you can have a weekend like this.
I've got a high too, and it is kind of the Saturday. My friend Rob was here. He was on our show Friday, and he was here all weekend and went up to the tailgating, and it's just a reminder of tailgating with friends and family. I mean, on a day like that, on a mid-October day that's just perfect, I don't know how it could be any better, but it was so fun to talk to people, to reunite with some people I hadn't seen in a long time. And Rob, who is not a subtle guy, is dressed in his UCF gear, and we're in the stands, and he's never cheering against Iowa State, but he is a loud, vocal Knight supporter, and he would yell out anytime there was something positive that had happened. And there were some positive things for UCF, and everybody around us quickly noted that he was sitting with me. You could feel it. Some people had talked to us, but they came up and they talked to Rob, and they were so nice to him and welcoming. And he's posted on my Facebook page about just how hospitable and cool all the fans were to him. And they really were. And I think they would have been even if UCF had turned out to win the game, because he didn't cross that line into, poking at the other fans. He was just cheering his team. And let's be honest, UCF is not exactly a rival of Iowa State at this point. So just overall, a great day, from the RV lots to the tailgating to a thrilling game itself. If I had to quibble on anything, it's just that game took so damn long. It was 4 hours long. I got home nearly 1 o'clock in the morning by the time we got home. So I rewatched the WHO 13 Sportscast. And I guess it's good I wasn't looking at my watch during the game, Andy, but I was surprised that Mark Freund and John Sears, they didn't have a final score yet because the game was still going at 10:25 p.m. The Hawkeye game had been over for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, started at the same time. It was crazy. Well, first
Really
off, kudos to you for being brave enough to bring a good friend from home to the game, because if there's a few friends of mine from home that I would not bring to a sporting event here. There is no way I would do that. There's just no way. There's just no way. There is no way that they would behave themselves well. I mean, they didn't behave themselves well enough at my wedding, much less a football game. And there's just no way. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Rob seemed like a real pretty chill dude and a nice guy. So I'm glad he had a really good time. Iowa State had its best face on for that game, from the tailgating lots. Oh, well, all right. There's some exceptions to that, but from the tailgating lots all the way into the stadium, the whole game, and then all the way out. Take that down, Andrew. That's enough.
It's a photo of Chris Williams.
Is that a cod piece?
A moo?
Game day.
Does it say moo?
It says game day. He said he has mood on his T-shirt.
I thought it was
Chris
just
Williams
moo.
T-shirt that says mood, and then it's kind of it's a flask cod piece. That says game day.
God. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Were your eyes too high?
My eyes never go down there with Williams on the screen. But yeah, he bought some underwear that had a flask right under the tip, and I was not at first sure what that was for. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I thought that was to pee in, like a Gatorade bottle that you didn't have to carry. And then someone was like, no, it's so you can sneak the booze into the arena. I was like, oh my God, where is my mind?
$20. $20. We also, at our tailgate near Gus the Bus, we also bought a couple of rounds of Oreo cookies and Nutter Butters from people who were walking around selling them supposedly on behalf of some youth team, some youth football team. I hope it really was a youth football team. We don't know, but it's hard to say no to kids that are hustling through a parking lot on game day. The irony of it, of course, was like Jenny had made all these cookies, monster cookies, chocolate chip cookies. The one thing we did not need at our tailgate was more cookies, but we ended up with more cookies. They were four packages for $20, which is a terrible deal, but you hope it was legit. And even if it wasn't, out there hustling and working.
You guys were over tailgating with us, and then we put all this food on the grill, and you guys were like, all right, we got to go.
Yeah.
And we're like, Well, don't leave now. We just put all this food on the grill. So we had so much. You guys left.
I know, but we promised John Sears we'd be at the tailgate at
and then he wasn't there. And
yeah,
he wasn't even there.
Show. No show.
Yeah. So we had all of this extra food. And then I, of course, felt compelled to eat as much as I could of food. And I was just stuffed for the rest of the night, like uncomfortably full.
Yeah. No matter how much money I have or how comfortable I am in my life, food going to waste is a major issue for it's a mental thing where I will eat until I'm uncomfortable just so that we don't throw food away. It's so dumb.
It worked out for us, though. I was able to get a $15 hamburger at the concession stand.
Oh, my God. We had so many burgers and brats. Here's something for you.
Okay.
Have you guys ever heard of Tiefenthaler bratwurst?
No.
Okay, so they're made in Iowa. I think they're made in Holstein, Iowa, which is a tiny little town in western Iowa. They're not a sponsor of the show. Again, showing how honest we are here. Those things are the bomb. Oh my God, those are good. So they're like bratwurst, and I love, Johnsonville bratwurst. It's really hard to beat those, but these things have like flavors that, like jalapeno cheddar and mushroom Swiss and cheesy potato, like stuff that you wouldn't think goes in a brat, but they're incredible. They're so stinking good. And we had a whole bunch of those, and those, of course, were the first things to go. And then we had all these other leftovers because Murph left. But anyway,
an entire group of people.
You missed the Tiefenthaler bratwurst.
Oh, another thing that I really enjoyed before we move on to the actual games in that experience up there is, Andy, I could not believe the number of people, and I'm sure you had a similar experience, that told me how much they were enjoying the show on Iowa Everywhere. Like, just person after like Rob was kind of a mini celebrity. The amount of people like, hey, I saw you on the podcast with your 30-second scout. We'll see if that turns out to be true, which, by the way, it did. He's like, hey, if UCF can run the ball and Iowa State turns it over a bunch of times, that's the only formula for the Knights to win. That almost happened. But yeah, just the amount of people that have recognized him or said something to him about his appearance. And one more interesting thing that happened, we were sitting in the south end zone, in the Suka end zone, and Cade, my son, was sitting behind me, and he kept leaning over, and he'd talk to me, and he would a couple of times he rub my neck and shoulders because I got the neck problem, and it's very thoughtful of him to do. And Rob bought everybody in our group Cyclone gear except me, but he bought stuff. Cade's got his shirt on, got that stupid rope hat on. But anyway, so Cade's leaning over, and he's leaning over after there's a big play or to get some thoughts. And finally, this lady behind him says, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but he's just here to watch the game. Just let him enjoy the game. Maybe respect his privacy. And Kate turns around and goes, that's my dad. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was your dad because you're sitting behind him.
What did she think was going on there? It was just some rando rubbing your shoulders?
Right, give me a little neck massage, trying to help out the tightness in the shoulders, just whispering. So it was actually very sweet.
To be fair, you're so non-controversial, you would, if somebody was actually just randomly doing that. I mean, how long would it be, Andy, before Murph actually turned around and told somebody to keep their hands to themselves?
Well, he would make eye contact with all of us to let us know how weird he thought it was first. And we would know how uncomfortable he was. And then it would probably be Jenny or me who finally said something to the guy.
Yeah, and Jenny might make a threat. A scissor kick or something. It would not be subtle. Mm-hmm. Interact on YouTube. Email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. On X, it's Murph_Andy. It's all powered by the Cellular Advantage. And through November 6th, US Days return. Great deals. That's right now through November 6th. Great deals on devices and accessories, giveaways featuring gift cards, grills, games, and more. Get up to $830 off with a trade-in of $50 or more at one of the 32 Cellular Advantage stores. Now, Murph and Andy on a Monday. Let's get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
All right, the Cyclones improved to 4-0 in the conference for the first time in history. 7-0 overall for the first time in 86 years. Those are both pretty big deals.
It's a really big deal. It hasn't all been pretty, but I think you would, if you look down any team's 7-0 start, it's probably going to look like that, right? I mean, there's going to be a few games in there where you just have to overcome some injuries, some bad plays, some, games that you got a bad start on. That's football. But they have found a way in each of these games, and they did on Saturday night, and I can't believe it because I think there were 3 different occasions in that game where I literally said, this game is over.
Turned out to not be true. Let's get to the rewind now. Versus UCF, Iowa State going in as the number 9 team in the country. First quarter, Carson Hansen, 57-yard touchdown run, ties the game at 7.
And they'll give it to Hansen off the left side. Big hole, 40, 30. Carson Hansen in a foot race to the 20, to the 10, all the way for the touchdown. Carson Hansen, we said it last week. Sooner or later, he was going to bust one all the way, and he did it right there.
That's a voice of the Cyclones, John Walters, courtesy of Learfield. And Hansen, until he got a little dinged up, kept him out of the game. It appears from listening to Matt Campbell after the game that Hansen should be back with a week off. He's one of many people that could use a little break right now, a little rest before the next game. But he's just been doing it all for Iowa State. He's having a great season.
I thought that changed the whole game right there. Losing him, he was dominating. He showed in the limited time that we saw him, what do you have, 9 carries, I think, total. He's the best back that they have, and I don't think it's close. And he was the type of back that they needed against that defensive line. And then when he left the game, everything changed. And there were just a number of occasions where they needed him back in that game. I know that he was walking around the sidelines, but clearly he was not good enough to play because they did need him in that game. And I thought there were a couple of spots there in the first half where things really kind of changed. But when he scored that second touchdown, are we going to play that touchdown here? Or are we moving on past that one?
Not another one from him.
Okay. So he scored that second touchdown, and it looked to me like, okay, they got their foot on Central Florida's neck, and this is over. And then he's out, and they decide not to go for it on like a 4th and 3 situation where I really kind of thought they're pretty close to midfield. I thought they should go for it at that point. They decided to punt, and then everything flips on them from that point. And I felt like that, losing Hansen and then that decision right there let UCF back in the game.
Rob told us Friday, a guy who watches the UCF team, that they're a little bit of a mess, but they've got some dudes. And
oh yeah,
he was right. The line play, they had some really talented, big, athletic players along the line. And then Harvey, man. He looks like a NFL running back.
Yeah, the quarterback can run too. Ja'Cory Brown was really a good athlete as well.
So Ja'Cory Brown here with the UCF leading in the third quarter, 21-14. And Brown gets loose.
It's going to be a keeper. Brown off the gut. Brown trying to beat everybody to the end zone. Closing into the 5. Ja'Cory Brown goes the distance.
That audio courtesy of FS1, and that makes it 28-14. And this is not looking good for Iowa State at this point, in part because Rocco Becht is not having one of his better games. He looks like he might have been rocked at one point. He's missing some throws. He had, one bad
drops.
pick six. Yeah, there's some drops. Just overall, it looks like that game where you just don't quite have it for the whole team. And UCF is taking advantage of that. They, to UCF's credit, they clearly, we question, is this the point they give up on the season? They didn't. They went to Ames to win.
Yeah, and it's hard to see the rest of that game without being obscured by those big plays that Central Florida had. I mean, they had a whole bunch of them. I mean, really big plays, long runs, the pick sixes, just some some plays that were not indicative of this Iowa State team. And so it was sort of hard to tell how well they were actually playing against Iowa State. Were they playing that well, or was Iowa State just playing that poorly that they kept giving up those big plays? But I think what to me seemed like the best measuring stick was the pressure that defensive line consistently put on Rocco Becht and on the Iowa State runners as well, without Hansen in there. I mean, they just really took away options there, and Rocco Becht was kind of left to be he was going to be the Cyclone offense. If he could stay on his feet and buy time, then they had a chance, and if he couldn't, then they were dead.
Fourth quarter, Becht, having thrown a pick six, throws another almost pick six. Should have been. The ball is dropped just short of the end zone.
Becht across the middle. It's intercepted. It was through the hands and picked off. Now going the other way. The Knights, a second pick six on the Knights.
And the ball would come back out. It doesn't end up because nobody jumped on it for Iowa State. The ball just sat there. Andy, this is one of those things that happens when someone Leon lets the football, that as long as I watch football, I will never understand how you can drop it before you get to the goal line.
Yeah, I don't get that either. It's a boneheaded play, but it eventually it took forever to. It's another reason that game took so stinking long is that review there, and it ended up not mattering at all because the ball just didn't happen to go out of the end zone, and nobody fell on it for the Cyclones, so they get the ball on the 1 yard line, the half yard line, and they punch it in a play later, so it didn't really matter, but. It was just like one more instance where you're like, oh my God, the Cyclones just they almost come back and they almost are taking control again. And then they just shoot themselves in the foot.
PJ Harvey would score on the next play to make it 35-27 Knights. ISU would then add a field goal. And Matt Campbell, much like he did against Iowa, punts the football away with 4 minutes or so remaining, counting on his defense making a stop, and then counting on his offense of being able to do a clutch drive. And in both those games, that is what happened. And in both those games, this new wrinkle put in the college game, the 2-minute timeout, was both part of the strategy and very much needed by Iowa State. And the 2-minute timeout, we know what it is. It's just to run another commercial break. You're going to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for these games, going to jam some more commercials in there and make the game even longer. That's what the 2-minute timeout is actually about. It's about commercials. And the win probability for UCF goes up to 99.9% with around 2 minutes to go. That's incredible. That's some context. The system may be flawed. I don't know. 99.9 seems like a lot. That didn't seem impossible to me at that point.
No.
But 99.9% does show you that this was an unlikely win at that point.
Well, that 2-minute timeout's in there, but the college football coaches have they found a way to use it to their advantage. It's part of their strategy now. And the way that Matt Campbell managed the clock in the last 2 minutes of the game, or really the last 4 minutes of the game, that's just one of those many situations that just reminds me that I don't really know shit about football, right? I mean, this is just like way over my head, and these coaches are just they know, they have this game thing down to the minute details. And the way that he managed that clock there, that's probably your MVP of the game. I mean, really. Rocco Becht had an incredible final drive there and final really quarter. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Matt Campbell's coaching there, that's where I think if you walk away as a Cyclone fan, days later, you feel like, okay, I feel genuinely good about this program because I just saw another example of my coach coaching. I mean, really gaming the system, gaming his players, playing with a depleted bench, and finding a way in a game where they just kept giving reasons to the other team to steal it. And it was interesting. I don't know who you were watching the game. Obviously, you're watching it with Rob, but I'm in a box with Scott Long and his fiance Karen, and we know them, and they're great. We're having a really good time. But we're in a box, and I don't know anybody else in the box. It's a bunch of people that I don't know. But these two guys that are in there watching with me, were clearly very educated football fans. And it was interesting to be around them as this game is going down, because I'm like, oh man, this is done. This is over. And both of these guys are like so calm and collected. They're like, they must have been coaches or something. But they were like, nope, it's not over. This is fine. The way this clock is working out, Campbell's got his timeouts. They've got the 2-minute timeout. He's like, they're going to get the ball back with 1:50 left, and they're going to be able to execute the kind of drive that they want. I mean, they're going to be fine. They're okay. They got the ball back with 1:48 left. These guys were like totally right, and they were right about every single play from that point on down the field. It was almost like they could see the future.
Future turned out to be a win for the Cyclones. Becht, who did not play well for most of the game, played as well at crunch time in a big spot as any Iowa State quarterback has ever played. I mean, it's all still out there for Iowa State, which is what makes this bigger than, Seneca's run against Tech or an early season game or something. This keeps Iowa State undefeated and tied atop the Big 12 standings. So it's a really big spot. And he was great. And he was great in a way we haven't seen him be this great before, which is running the football. But it was a throw that really kept things going. Becht, several clutch plays, including this pass to Abu Sama.
Becht stays up, gets away from the tackler Hunter, now throws downfield, caught by Sama, and the first down on a broken play. Huge right there for Iowa State.
Audio courtesy of FS1.
I'm glad you didn't jump over that one there in the third quarter. That recency bias, okay, I fully admit it, that I don't remember a more impressive throw by an Iowa State quarterback than that.
Dropping it into Sama.
Where was Sama? I couldn't even see him. I mean, dropping it in there, it was well defended. He's on the run. He drops that in like that. He's right on the sideline. He another inch to the right, and that ball's too far out for him to get his feet in.
And Iowa State loses.
It was an incredible play.
So with 30 seconds to play, Becht for the win.
A goal from the one coming up.
Plenty of time, 35
Getting lined up, Becht under center. Becht will run it. A sneak touchdown! Rocco Becht took it in. He snuck it in from a yard out. And the Cyclones take the lead.
Happy for John Walters, voice of the Cyclones there. I mean, there's a guy who's called some losing football games over many years, and just the joy in his voice of that big moment, the unlikely comeback for the win, as Iowa State finds a way, 38-35, keeps the perfect season going.
Yeah, as this game ages, look, this is Central Florida, so this is not a game against, one of the best teams in the conference or certainly in the country.
It's a mediocre team.
Right. But when he absolutely had to have it with certain elements of the season are on the line in this game, right? He makes two of the most important, most impressive throws. The throw to help set up that touchdown, one of them, to Jalen Knoll on the near sideline as I was watching. That was a great play also. And there were, people, I'm sure, throughout the stadium and throughout the television audience were watching that game and saying, okay, those are just plays that Iowa State didn't make, in the past. They're just, you're going to give them a 0% chance of getting that done. The fact that he is getting that done repeatedly at crunch time with a perfect season on the line, well into the season, was, if you've been watching Cyclone football, that's nothing short of incredible.
Mm-hmm. It is one of those points in a season when maybe something special is going. I don't know. I still don't know how good Iowa State is. Is Iowa State legitimately a top 10 team? I really don't know. But I've seen Alabama lose to Vanderbilt. I've seen Notre Dame lose to Illinois State. Iowa State is doing everything it can, which is to beat the teams, finding a way to beat the teams in front of the Cyclones. And sometimes that's what it takes. And I think, like I saw our family doctor, Dr. Gupta, before the game. He stopped by our tailgate with his family. And Dr. Gupta is a Vikings fan too, and he's a Cyclone fan. And prior to the Vikings loss yesterday, he's like, I just don't know what to do. I'm not used to this. He's like, I wore a cup to this game tonight because I'm expecting the kick to the Stones. Yep. And I'm sure late in the game, he probably thought, there we go. It's Iowa State, just when it seemed like everything was going. We're going to have to hear from some of these Hawkeye fans for the next 2 weeks about being the fake ID of college football and all that. But this isn't that Iowa State team. This is different now. And I think it's okay to embrace the flip the script of the Cyclones, because good teams can play badly and still find a way to win. That's what Iowa State did.
Yep. Right. I mean, the games that are put in front of them, they are still knocking down. I don't think anybody walked away from that game feeling like, okay, we are 100% where we need to be right now. But the fact that you can overcome, I mean, that's just part of football, right? I mean, right. Overcoming the things that happen in the course of a football season or a football game, overcoming those kind of things, that's as much a part of it as, playing up to your potential. I mean, it happens. Teams, there's a target on Iowa State's back right now. In this Big 12, I mean, Iowa State is arguably one of the big fish. And there's no Oklahoma and Texas anymore. Everybody's paying attention to the standings. Iowa State is a team that you hang your hat on a win over the Cyclones right now. And Central Florida, for much of that game, looked like they had it. But at the end, it just looked like they got out-coached. They got out-quarterbacked. Their receiver, the Iowa State receivers were too good for the defensive backs from UCF. And UCF could not throw the ball when they had to throw the ball. Iowa State just said, okay, enough's enough. They took over. They thrilled the fans, and they came out with a win that they needed.
Here's Rocco and Jalen Knoll after the game.
Everybody has trust in everybody. Nobody has doubt. Everybody has belief in everyone on this team. And there was no doubt, I promise you, on that sideline that we weren't going to win that game. So, if we keep having that belief in each other and that trust, we're going to keep winning.
The fight in this team is tremendous. And throughout this season, fight is what we've built this team on, and we're desperate to win. It's been 133 years since anything's been won here, and we won it. And as long as we're desperate, we're going to continue to be successful.
I like that. I like that line.
It is. That's the way to play a game like this and not lose your focus and not look too far ahead. That video, by the way, from John Sears, who got home at 1:30 in the morning. It's a late night. Thank you, WHO 13, for the video and the highlights. Also, Andy, we don't even need to have a quickie poll. This is a good time for Iowa State to be off. Mm-hmm. Matt Campbell revealed after the game, he's used 101 players. You only have 85 scholarships. That means 16 walk-ons have played. That's how banged up the Cyclones are.
I think one of the telling things is that I think there are a lot of fans in those stands that don't really know all the players on the field because they've been filing in and out so much. Sure. I think there was even more going on in that game too. I mean, you lose Hansen and Bramer, and that's terrible. And then from what I'm told, at least one of the offensive linemen was very sick during the game. I think maybe there was some flu going on around that team, and one of the O-linemen was just puking his brains out onto the field and kept playing. I mean, he just played all the way through it. So, that's impressive. I don't think anybody ever looks at Iowa State as a team that's going to be deep going into a season. I mean, they've certainly been getting a lot deeper, and there are positions where they're pretty loaded, but just top to bottom, especially on the lines and the linebacking core and stuff like that. I mean, you don't look at Iowa State as just, so much talent that they don't have enough footballs for them. I mean, usually they can be pretty thin at certain positions, and they have gone through 101 players, and each person in has done something to help preserve a perfect season halfway through.
Only way to keep it going. Iowa goes to Michigan State, drops a turd in the punch bowl, ends all thoughts of the season highs. I want to be specific about that because the season's not over. There can still be some fun. There can still be some happy moments. There should still be some wins. But the high-end goals set by the fans and the media and the players themselves, those are all gone. There's no college football playoff. There's not going to be a college football playoff. There's not going to be a Big Ten championship or Big Ten championship game. There's just not a schedule to make up a bunch of ground. Some good things can still be done, but I think this is one of the more surprising road trips a Hawkeye team has taken, coming out of that what seemed like a turn the corner effort against Washington, and then to go there against a mediocre Michigan State football team and not only get blown off the ball and look bad in the first half and miss like a dozen tackles, but it was hard for Hawkeye fans to keep watching, because I watched it this morning because I was at the Iowa State game, so I didn't see it till this morning. That was like a miserable game to watch in the first half if you're a fan. Just nothing to cheer.
Yeah, it was. And, it was hard because it was going on at the exact same time as the Iowa State game. We had it on in the box, and so I was able to watch a little bit of it.
In the box. We had it on in the box.
Yeah. I was able to watch a little bit of it, but, I had to go back and rewatch it too. But, you had just been through a game where you suddenly felt much better about everything that was going on at Iowa. And then you're shown a game that looks like it just doesn't belong in the past, 8 years of Hawkeye football. When is the last time you saw an Iowa defense play like that from start to finish in a game that far into the season? I mean, it just was so not indicative of what we normally see from Phil Parker's teams.
It's not Ohio State either. It's Michigan State.
No, I mean, missing so many tackles. It was a game from the offense that we hadn't seen in a little while. It was a game from the defense that I can't remember the last time that we saw a game like that. I don't know, Andrew. I mean, you'll put it in better perspective than we will, and you and Chris did the show right afterwards. But I don't know as you're watching that game, at which point were you finding it difficult to stay checked in?
Well, I mean, the whole first half was tough, as Murph said, because the offense just couldn't do anything, and the defense was bending a lot, but they didn't break, right? They gave up 5 field goal attempts, and so you just kept thinking, okay, if the offense can figure this out and the defense keeps playing the way they're playing, even though it's not great, if they can turn over Childs a little bit, get in their head a little bit, shut up this crowd, which I thought they would do when they came out and scored in the third quarter, you felt like, okay, it's not great. There's a lot to fix here. It doesn't look as good as it did last week, but you can get out of here with a win and everything's still, on the table. And then in the second half, it was just maddening to watch this defense give up. I mean, be gashed over and over. And all of a sudden the offense picked it up, right? And they scored several times and kind of kept pace with Michigan State. And it was like, okay, defense, one big play, one turnover, one stop. You need something here and you can win this game. And the defense never could get it. And yeah, I don't remember as a Hawkeye fan watching a game with that many missed tackles and a defense that, although Sebastian Castro was out, a defense filled with guys who came back to do something special this year. I mean, this was the part of the team that you relied on. And so when you start questioning that, it really the downhill of what's happening to this program right now, what the rest of the season is going to look like, becomes very slippery.
Yeah, they They never punted. The Spartans never punted in
that
this
was
game.
the weird thing, right? I mean, they would keep them from getting a touchdown and hold them to just a field goal, but they kept kicking field goals.
Right.
They kept making the field goals. They kept getting into field goal range. They kept making all those field goals, and they would force them to kick a field goal, but they would never force them to punt.
Cade McNamara was bad in the first half. He was better in the second half, but still missed many open receivers. But let's get to what Michigan State did. It's the third quarter. Aiden Childs with the touchdown pass.
Here's a fake handoff to the tailback. He wants it all.
He's got him.
Oh, wide open receiver. Touchdown, Michigan State. Montorie Foster just turned John Nestor inside out.
So 19-7 Spartans. Brendan Sullivan, who the announcers thought would replace Cade McNamara by this point.
Yeah, Todd Blackledge. Have you never? Are you new to Iowa football?
Big Ten guy.
And like Hassel said on Instant Iowa after the game, he said it with so much confidence in like the first quarter after maybe two possessions. Like, I think we're going to see Brendan Sullivan here. He said it with so much confidence that it was like he must know something. He must have picked something up this week while he was talking to the coaches. They must have let him in on something. And I'm sitting there like, come on, guys. We've been through this before. This isn't going to happen. I couldn't believe.
They based it on who was wearing a helmet at the time.
Crazy.
Yeah, you got to have more than that, right? That's what it turned out to be. But Sullivan did come in, and he gives Hawkeye fans some hope.
A wing to the right. Oh, a high snap. Sullivan gets the ball under control. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown, Iowa. Touchdown, Brendan Sullivan. And the Hawks are back to within a touchdown.
That audio is courtesy of Learfield. That's Gary Dolphin, voice of the Hawkeyes. That made it 19-14. I should note, Brendan Sullivan is coming in briefly in those goal line packages.
Yeah.
But inexplicably, not for the 2-point conversion.
What do you do? It's wild. I mean, last week we saw him come in the middle of the field on 3rd and 1 and convert a first down. It's almost like they didn't think about the possibility of a 2-point conversion, so they just never implemented that package. It's mind-boggling.
This game, I think one of the aggravating things for Hawkeye fans is that I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. There's some crazy person outside my house right now. Go ahead.
Just make
Murph.
sure you're
Sorry
safe.
about that. Yeah.
A 75-yard touchdown run by Caleb Johnson is too late. It does help with his stats considerably, and he did not have room to run, but he did get loose. So 32-20 is the final. Michigan State wins it, and here's Kirk Ferentz after the game.
No doubt. Like I said, when you're in conference football, it's week to week. And I mean, we have no choice. We've got 3 conference games looking at us before our next time out. And, we can't sit around and feel too bad for too long. We'll feel bad tomorrow for sure. We'll look at the tape, see what we can learn. Then we're going to have to make sure the guys get some rest because it's going to be a late night getting back there or early morning, however you want to look at it. But that's football. You got to move on. And whether you win or lose, you got to move on to the next challenge. And those aren't going away. So we know we got one next Saturday, and we got to get ready. That's our jobs.
Post-game thanks to Blake Hornstein from Hawkeye headquarters. Appreciate that, Blake. Kirk Ferentz needs to change the quarterback here. You can't win the Big Ten. You can't go to the Big Ten championship. You can't go to the college football playoff. By any measure, Cade McNamara has not worked out as hoped. It seems like he's a good leader. It seems like he's trying really hard. Seems like his teammates like him and respect him, but he's not accurate at all. He can't move very well. Brendan Sullivan is seemingly going to be the quarterback next year. It seems like this is the time to make the move, but will Kirk make the move? Let's go to the quickie poll from WCI Pools and Spas.
Will Kirk Ferentz now switch to Brendan Sullivan at quarterback? Not should he.
Look at that vote.
We're not asking if he should. We're asking if he will.
Will he?
And yeah, this is lopsided. And I'm glad to know that most of our listeners are smart football people, have experienced 26 years of Kirk Ferentz, because this ain't happening.
Yeah, 3.9% have not watched Hawkeye football during the
I think
Kirk
that's Todd
Ferentz
Blackledge
era. Yeah, right.
Todd Blackledge, thank you for voting. It doesn't give you pause at all, though, that the next opponent is Northwestern. I mean, what a perfect time to put Brendan Sullivan in.
Yeah, of course.
It's Northwestern, it's his old team.
How many perfect times have there been over the last several seasons to put in the backup quarterback? In 2022, Iowa lost 3 games in a row with Spencer Petras at quarterback. Had nothing left to play for other than a meaningless, I think it was an Outback Bowl they ended up winning in that year. Did we see Joey Labus or whoever the hell was the backup at that point that every fan was calling for?
Yeah.
I mean, how many?
We've had the same conversation
Exactly.
going back years now.
Years.
I mean, I only wish we still had all the old archives of the shows where you could probably have Murph saying exactly what he just said.
Yeah.
Yes.
From 5 different years. This doesn't happen. This is not the way that he coaches.
Nope.
We don't understand it. It seems like we've had a whole bunch of perfect opportunities and all the reasons in the world, situations, and it still hadn't happened.
And the thing that makes it more maddening now, and again, maybe hell will freeze over and there will be a change, but assuming that doesn't happen, the thing that makes it more maddening now than it has been in the years past is we are seeing Brendan Sullivan. And yeah, we're not seeing him throw the ball a lot. We've seen him make what could have been a huge mistake in that Washington game, but we're seeing him go out there and lead the offense into the end zone time in and time out. We talked about this on Instant Iowa. Michigan State went out and got a transfer quarterback who could do what he did to Iowa the other night. Indiana's undefeated because of their transfer quarterback. Iowa went out and got a transfer quarterback who could run the ball a little bit and give teams a different look, and they refuse to use him. And that's what really frustrates fans, I think, is what you have on the bench. At least give us a chance to see it.
And that's what I was going to say earlier. When you have Hawkeye fans knowing exactly what they would like to see, and then you see one team after another, Michigan State this time, add the type of quarterback, exactly that type of quarterback you've been calling forever. And you know that Iowa can get these guys if they wanted. These are not 5-star recruits that they had to pay $1 bazillion to. These are guys that someone found, and they gave them a chance and coached them up. And now you look like a genius, and Iowa looks like they've just been napping on the job.
Cade McNamara was far from the only problem Saturday night. We understand that. But was there any Hawkeye fan watching this game that didn't see the gap between Childs as a quarterback and Cade McNamara's potential? I mean, it jumped out to you. It's kind of like my friend Rob said about UCF. He's like, UCF can't pass the football. So it can stop the run, find a way to win. Didn't stop the run a bunch of times, but UCF doesn't have a quarterback that can pass. Iowa State has a quarterback that can pass and run, and it made the difference at crunch time.
And you saw what a team can do against Caleb Johnson for 3.5 quarters if you just stack the box and aren't worried at all about the passing game. And
make
why
him beat
you
with that pass.
And they were so stacked that as soon as Caleb Johnson actually got outside of all the players, he ran for 75 yards.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like everybody was within 5 yards of that line of scrimmage, and of course they were.
I'm sorry, just one more point. I mean, there's still some fun left in this season, but this is another one of the situations where you look at this schedule and you don't see Indiana and you don't see Illinois. And it's like a double bummer because you really could pull yourself back together if you had a shot at one of those teams that is having a really good season, but is probably not a world beater. And Iowa could have a shot at one of those teams, but because of the schedule, they don't.
Also, we should have bought our tickets to the Iowa Northwestern game today, not a couple of weeks ago.
Well, what's to say about Northwestern that Iowa's like a 14.5 point favorite in that game?
Ooh,
well, they
doesn't
saw
say anything
the
good.
Wisconsin game.
Grimaldi's fan photos. We have a reminder for you here. You just send in a fan photo, Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. You can also post on X, Murph_Andy, but there's a better chance we won't miss it if you email it. AD will look at it. These are some examples here of some of the fan photos we've gotten.
Yeah, Michael Paulson sent this one in over the weekend from Jack Trice Stadium. He and his daughter watching the game.
But we will pick a winner for the $50 gift card coming up Friday, and then you can go to Grimaldi. So keep those fan photos coming. Again, does not have to be from a college football game. It can be any fan photo experience of any sport. All right, Nebraska gets embarrassed 56-7. I get embarrassed too. I picked Nebraska to win this game, which now feels like one of the worst picks a person has ever made. I don't know why I keep falling for this. Is it the N on the helmet? Is it my life's history of Nebraska being this power, and I just feel like it has to come back at some point? Andy, I fell for it again. They lost 56-7, not to Ohio State, not to USC, not to Michigan, not to Florida. They lost 56-7 to Indiana, a team that does look for real.
Yeah, well, first of all, Indiana's really good this year. They really have a good team this year.
Go figure.
A lot of us are thinking, the bubble is going to burst at some point, but no, they have a good team. And Nebraska's had some pretty good wins this year. And you do think, Matt Rule is getting paid a ton of money, came out of the NFL. He was a big name get for them. And you do think that in year two of his time there, they're going to turn it around, because even though they haven't won in a long time, they still have a bottomless pot of money there. They do. That is the only team in that state.
Fans everywhere, great fans willing to donate.
Right. So they have whatever they want, and they cannot find it. They are making it look so hard. As I was saying last night in What's Bugging Andy, it just kind of dawned on me that it's been 25 years that I've been covering college football in Iowa now. And it was almost 25 years ago exactly that Iowa State had a really good start to the season for them at the time. They were 3-1. And they went to Lincoln, and there wasn't a single person on that trip. Well, maybe if Cyclone Jerry was watching the game, he thought they were going to win. But nobody else thought that Iowa State was going to beat Nebraska. It was just an impossible thing. They were just, that crowd was twice as big as Iowa State's crowd was in those days. They had all that tradition. It was Frank Solich, but they still had so many of Osborne's players. They were loaded, and it seemed like that was never going to change. And since then, they have gone steadily down, and Iowa State has gone steadily up. And it's just crazy to think right now that Iowa State's football program is in a better position than Nebraska's. I would have never thought. You could have said, okay, I'll give you 1,000,000 years for it to happen. Back then I still would be like,
When you said that last night, I had to stop and think about it. Iowa State has a better football program than Nebraska. Right now, it is true.
Nebraska may have more money.
Yeah,
their stadium is bigger.
Yep.
Iowa State's football program is better than Nebraska's right now.
Nebraska has more fans, more money, more history, all of that. But right now, Iowa State has a better football program.
Yep.
Yeah, it is hard to believe. Texas fans upset with a call, throw water bottles and garbage onto the field. Officials end up reversing the call after stopping play for all this garbage raining down, which leads Kirby Smart to say this sets a bad precedent. He's right. You don't want to encourage that. Oh, the call got reversed because everybody acted like an idiot and threw projectiles on the field. Texas has been fined. It's $200,000 or $300,000, so it's a big fine. Some Texas fans are finding out their season tickets are being revoked if they're able to show that was a person throwing it. And I saw a couple of bottles come down from the top at Jack Trice Stadium this past weekend, just people throwing bottles and landing near security there, and they picked the bottles up. It was like 2 or 3 spaced out a little bit, but a couple of us were turning around and looking up there like, don't do that. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's actually going to get hurt by something like that, but it's such a bad look.
It's a bad look. Don't do
it. When I was in that box, we had, you got the screen there in front of you with there's a big TV in the back. The Iowa game is on there. And then there's a screen that's right up over the seats that the fans use to watch the replays on. The fans in the box. Well, somebody in the box, I guess, was like a Texas or Georgia alum, and they wanted that game on that TV. And the rest of us are like,
what?
Why? We're watching the Iowa State game. We're here. We want to use that for the replays. Otherwise, you got to crane your neck from where we were sitting to see it up on the video board, and they don't always show them there. So, but this guy insisted on putting this up So anyway, that game was on at the time that happened, and Sarkisian comes out and he's, yelling at the fans to stop and scolding the fans. But I mean, they were showering. You know how big that stadium is. It's an old stadium, so the fans are in close proximity, relatively speaking, to the field. So I mean, that's one of those stadiums where, like, if things get chaotic, they get real chaotic, because there's no way to get into that, for security to really get into the stands there or anything. I mean, that's just going to be mob rule if they want it there.
It is hard to get your mind around how big that stadium is there at Texas. It kind of blew me away. By the way, Kirby Smart, no one believed in us. Jeez. No one thought we could do it. Give me a break. You won two of the three most recent national champions.
Remember a couple years ago they had
nobody
players
thought you could do it.
People thought we were going to be 7-5. It's like nobody has ever
that.
picked you 7-5.
Stand by, Andy. We have the WNBA championship. I know you've been waiting for this. The New York Liberty edges the Minnesota Lynx in the winner-take-all Game 5 in overtime. That's right, overtime, 67-62. So either that was good defense or some of the worst offense you'll ever watch. Sabrina Ionescu was 1 for 19 from the field. Brianna Stewart was 4 for 15 from the field. They combined 5 for 34, and they won.
Yeah. Of all the good things that have happened for the WNBA, this is not a great final effort. And, of course, the highlight reels are all over the social media feeds today.
Air balls and brick layups, that kind of thing.
That is just crazy, and it's given the haters a ton of fuel. But, I mean, look, I think we can wrap it up by saying that this was almost everything that the WNBA could have hoped for in this season, almost. And to have the Liberty with those big stars win the championship game, you've got, obviously the biggest city is the champion now, and you got Caitlin Clark in there and did so well. And there are a number of there's so many players that no one knew at the start of the season.
True.
That have become household names in many not every household, but they've become stars in their own right. And there will be a lot of people truly anticipating the WNBA season. And because I think what I think the WNBA season this year did was, first of all, it introduced a lot of people to the league, but it also reminded us that they have things set up pretty well there. And some of the other leagues should take note. That season starts at just the right time. It occupies a portion of the calendar that doesn't have a whole lot of competition. There's no other basketball going on. You're really only battling baseball, which is fading. Even in an Olympics year, they still kept the spotlight. It's not a long season. Seem longer because of the Olympic break. It's not a long season. The teams don't play a lot of games. These best of 5 series are better than best of 7. I mean, they're
switching to best of 7 next year, and they're adding 4 games to the regular season.
Oh, well, forget that. Well, I mean, 4 games, that's not, what do they have, 40 games, so it's 44.
Yeah, they go to 44.
They shouldn't do best of 7. Best of 5 is fine, but they're feeling like they've got, more demand and they want to have more games. And, if you're going to get crowds like that. And if Caitlin Clark's team is in the finals or in the playoffs, I mean, you're going to want all the best of 7 games you can. So maybe that's not a bad thing, but I mean, it really, they had some good things this year, aside from Caitlin Clark, that America took notice of.
A big rating surge for the Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll get to this more later. Dodgers-Yankees is just what the networks and MLB wanted. That doesn't start until Friday, but you have some big stars, including arguably the 2 biggest stars. Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge are in this World Series. And now here's Jim Morrow, 28 years ago today.
It was that second game, we got our ass kicked, or the second half. We just got our ass totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly-poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked. We couldn't stop the run. Every time they got the ball, they went down and got points. We got our ass totally kicked in the second half. That's what it boiled down to. It was a horse performance in the second half. Horse. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in that second half. It sucked. It stunk.
Yeah, that's great. Just awesome.
Yeah, and another vote for doing an interview right after that team comes off the field when the coach is still red hot.
Yeah. Chiefs only undefeated team left. Lions beat the Vikings, and the Jets remain the Jets. Time now for Throwdowns on Murph and Andy.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
All right, let's throw it down. Shout out to Heartland Tire and Auto. We appreciate their support as always. Andy, Illinois rocked some throwback uniforms on Saturday. I didn't like these when I saw a picture, but as I watched the game against Michigan unfold, they grew on me, and it got to the point where I was like, man, these are cool uniforms, especially those helmets that were like hand painted. Do you like these Illinois throwbacks?
Yeah, I feel the same way. At first sight, I thought the helmet looked stupid, but you know, everybody knows the story behind Red Grange, I think, and you know that, you know, Illinois is having one of those seasons where they're putting all the fans back on the bandwagon, and this is how you do it, right? You bolster your present by saluting your past, I think, and that's what they did. So honestly, I've come 180 degrees. I actually think I like them now. I think it was a great idea.
I can't add a lot to that, but I agree with what you both said. The photo made me feel like this was something I would be making fun of on Monday, but the attention to detail made it pretty cool. So I'll give it a thumbs up when I thought I'd be giving it a big thumbs down.
Murph, Matt Rule is in his second season at Nebraska. Last year they were 5-7. This year they've lost to that Illinois team and then just got smoked by Indiana. It's early, but you were pretty high on the Matt Rule hire when it came out. Are you questioning your confidence that Matt Rule will ultimately turn things around for the Huskers?
I'm not, because I think he is still a guy that will get them to bowl games and winning seasons, and maybe once every 10 years, as the season gets to its final third, fans believe that something special might happen. What I never thought would happen, and what's not going to happen, is that Nebraska returns to being one of the college football powers year in and year out. They're not going to become Georgia, Alabama, Texas, any of those teams. But yes, I think of the recent hires, he's still going to get it done relative to what's possible for Nebraska now.
There's a lot of conditions on that endorsement there, Murph. Jeez.
Yeah, you don't want that if you're a politician.
I mean, he's not going to take him to Iowa State levels, but let's be realistic.
Well, they'd have to come back into the Big 12. They're not winning the Big 10 with Matt Rule.
No, they're not. And I don't know. I mean, are you convinced that Matt Rule is a great football coach?
No.
I mean, he was pretty good at Baylor. He did get an opportunity in the NFL. He didn't do well with it.
He did better in year 3. This is year 2. So yes,
the problem is he is never going to have a situation at Nebraska, and it would take another 20 years.
Problem is he looks like Jason Parkin.
Yeah, he does. He's shorter than Jason Parkin.
No, he's not shorter than Jason.
I think
Parkin,
he is. He's 5'6". Well, the Wikipedia says he's 5'6". Jason Parkin's at least 5'9".
Okay.
That he can't only be 5'6", right? Is he wearing Kiss
5'6"? And look, AD, did you find a photo where he looks like he's about to cry?
I mean, NBC Sports did. Yeah, shout out to them.
Shout out NBC.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is I think even 20 years from now, I think you'll still have a big chunk of that fan base with high expectations for Nebraska, and that's hard. I mean, he was at Baylor, and yeah, they had some success with Art Briles, but I don't think you had an entitled fan base down there in Waco, and you've got one of those in Lincoln, and I just think that makes it difficult. You know, you just keeping everybody on board, asking them to be patient is just harder there than it is at other schools.
I think Lozier may be too good at their job. I'm hot. I need to just completely turn everything on. I might need to turn
You got
the
a
AC
thermostat,
on.
right?
I know. Well, I can't get to it right now. I'd have to walk off the.
It's that time of year where you
makeshift
wake
set.
up and it's 50, and in the afternoon it's 80. And
Man, I'm pitting out here.
all right, Andy. True to my word, I learned about this and more. And this weekend I had the chicken Big Mac. I'm not sure what exactly happened to the picture in translation here. It looked better than the picture looks.
This looks like salmonella in your photo here.
It was awesome. It was glorious.
I was going to ask you about this and more, actually.
I loved it.
Okay.
Will you try it, Andy? That's my question.
Would I or will I?
Will you? Like, are you going to go out of your way to get a chicken Big Mac?
I feel like I probably should. I do like McDonald's, and I don't know. I like the regular Big Mac so much. So tell me, like, just walk me through the bite.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar to a regular. It's meatier, right, and juicier because those McChicken patties, which is what they are. I don't know what. They say
is it
they
crunchy?
Are,
it said they're panko crusted.
Yeah, they're not. It's a McChicken. It's 2 McChickens on a Big Mac.
AD, my son
and it's
Kate
exactly
said
what you think
that this tastes like 2 big chicken nuggets from McDonald's. McNuggets on bread.
Yeah. With special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed.
Did Kate
bun.
have it with the special sauce?
No.
Oh, well, there. I mean, what are you doing? That's not a Big Mac.
He's picky.
He's just eating
picky.
Two stacked McChickens.
I'm going to try to give that a try.
Do it. Hey, Murph, how about you?
I'll definitely try it. I'm looking forward to trying it. I may try it today. Although probably not after the crap I ate Saturday. Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Hope you got to enjoy Confluence this weekend. I really didn't. I did.
I'm sorry, it was all gone by the time you got over to our tailgate.
I had quite a few Saturday night.
Bush Light is all that I had, but this looks better.
Bastard.
I know. All right. Thank you, Confluence. Now, let's get some more here.
But wait, there's more from Either Or Eatery and Patio.
Sorry about that, Murph.
That's all right. I added words.
More is brought to you by Either Or. Try the Korean Philly cheesesteak. That beef is marinated in gochujang.
Sorry?
Gochujang.
Okay.
It's probably not the real authentic Korean way to pronounce that, but that stuff is everywhere. Andrew, you got some of that in your refrigerator, don't you?
Absolutely.
It's basically Korean sriracha or Korean Tabasco. I mean, it's spicy, but it's like it's a little pastier. It's really good. And then try the handmade cavatelli. They make the noodles by hand there. It's phenomenal. It is National Nut Day. National Nut Day. That's for you guys because you're a couple of nuts.
Hey-o.
From the Des Moines Register, the state of Iowa has officially agreed to give Des Moines $23.5 million to help fund the sprawling Capital City Reinvestment District.
Is this thing going to be done before
Isn't that
I'm dead?
a catchy name? I don't know. I don't. Truly, I think it's iffy. The jewel of which would be the long-awaited, much talked about downtown Des Moines soccer stadium. And then you read a little further into the story and you find this. Construction is expected to last a decade, despite the timelines laid out in the city's application to the state. The Iowa Soccer Development Foundation has said it won't begin until a nearly $20 million gap is filled in the funding for the $95 million stadium. Jeez. Which, if it takes that long, is not going to be a $95 million stadium anymore. It'll be over $100 million. And I don't know, man. I will believe this when I see it.
Yeah, I hope our kids get to see this.
That's how I've gotten with every construction project, like the Bucks Arena at Merle Hay Mall. There were 2 skyscrapers going up in downtown Des Moines a few years ago. I just haven't seen any of it.
Yeah, those are just like it seemed like kind of a wishy-washy idea, kind of a flimsy idea, and so you're just like, you show it to me when it's done. Whereas that like Icon Water Trails thing, I keep thinking is just a really kooky idea. It just keeps on chugging forward. Word out of the city of West Des Moines is that there will definitely be a 3rd ice rink added to the Mid-American Energy Recplex. Now the question is, how many people will that 3rd ice rink hold? If the city goes it alone, it'll seat 1,000 people, like the other ones do. If the Des Moines Buccaneers are involved, and owner Michael Devlin has rented a townhome nearby in West Des Moines, by the way. If the Bucks are involved, then this new arena will hold 3,000 people, and that will be the Bucks' new home. The question is, does Michael Devlin want to spend that kind of money? I think Bucks fans see this as the best option that's still there for them.
Sure. Yeah, they have to change the scale at this point.
West Des Moines is going to build this. The demand is there for another sheet of ice there, and they're going to get it. But if the Bucks want to be a part of it, it's going to be a much bigger deal. All right, we got a word of the week for you, Murph.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's the word is situation. Here's the definition. Someone is in the stall while you're at the urinal or at the sink. Now, they're clearly trying to be quiet in there, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to flush the urinal multiple times, run the water in the sink, hurry up and leave to give them some cover? Or is it your bathroom time too? You do what you need to do.
Ooh.
It's a situation.
Yeah, it's circumstantial, but if I walk into a situation, I usually U-turn back out and come back later.
You got to go, man. You got to go. Maybe you don't even realize there's a situation going on until you get there, and all of a sudden you hear someone like clear their throat. And you're like, oh man.
They're trying to hint for you to give them some privacy.
It's the worst when you're the guy in the stall in the situation, and you're like, I don't want to be nasty. I don't want to ruin this guy's day. I'm just
you're
gonna
like
sit
holding
here
your breath.
And
you're hoping your shoes aren't recognizable.
Yeah, right. It's like, just get out of here, man. You don't need to wash your hands. You just took a piss. Just get out of here.
Try to be as quiet as possible, even though that closed door just completely gives you away. It's a situation. Oh man, I got to share this story from our friend Brandon McCauley.
Uh-oh.
Who attended the game. So he's got people with him. They're all at the game, and they go and they sit in their seats, and they realize that sitting nearby is a woman who's been drinking all day long, like all day long. And the lady is clearly going to throw up.
Oh, no.
At some point, she's going to puke.
Yep.
Middle-aged, he says maybe late 40s, early 50s. And she's there with her drunk husband and her 3 teenage kids who are apparently kind of embarrassed. So he says basically living the real-life version of Andy doing a drunk woman impression. Do I have one of those?
You probably do. It doesn't come to mind right away. Let's see it. I don't think that differs from your drunk man impression, but maybe it shouldn't.
Or no, the drunk woman would be like the women, like the ones that, like that lady that wouldn't get out of the satellite truck and Lee Rouse had to deal with her. I'm not leaving here. I'll stay right here as long as I want.
I pay taxes.
Yeah.
What's that have to do with anything?
So for the first quarter, she was slumped over her husband's shoulder, like to the point where we're like, why are they even here? It was actually kind of sad because her teenage son looked all worried and was trying to comfort her. Then at the start of the second quarter, it happened. She barfed all over the ground. I don't know how she missed the people in front of her. The smell was awful. Everyone around her, including us, was pissed. We watched the whole second quarter with our shirts over our noses.
Oh, no.
The kicker was they didn't even leave until 2 minutes left in the half. Her kids were absolutely mortified. But then,
I feel bad for the kids.
Yeah, no kidding. But then the real comeback of the night in that stadium was not led by Rocco Becht. It was led by this woman who comes walking back in at the end of the third quarter. She and her husband come back to the section like nothing had happened. Her hair was tied back but had puke in it still. She was laughing and cheering and trying to engage with us. We were like, no, thank you, lady. We couldn't believe she had the nerve to show her face again. I think
she got her second wind.
I think if Iowa State would have lost, it would have ruined my night because it would have tainted Danny's first experience at Jack Trice. But in the end, there was an incredible comeback to celebrate. So now it's just a ridiculous sidebar story to a fun day. Yeah, man. And like in the seats there at Jack Trice Stadium, those are tight. You know, there's not a lot of room between those rows, so I can't believe she didn't puke on someone's back
I think
someone
I would
pukes on your back.
Oh gosh, you got to check
it's
out.
on.
I feel like I would maybe try to go get a bottle of water and rinse it away, but that's just going to send it down to the people in front of you. It's not like you can go get the janitorial staff and say, "Can you come clean up this puke?" That's bad. That night games, man, much more likely to have somebody puking near you.
Oh, smelly puke. That's awful.
That's a bad smell.
The last full-size Kmart is closed in Bridgehampton, New York. The store, which is about 95 miles east of Manhattan, closed its doors for the final time on Sunday night, leaving only one smaller store with a limited selection in Miami left in operation. This one here in New York will become a Target.
I wonder if Jacqueline Smith made it in for the final day.
I don't think so.
No.
Is she alive?
I hope so.
I do too. I hope
I
so.
mean, she had a Kmart collection.
She sure did. There were a few. I think Martha Stewart had one too for a while. The Costco Connection, that magazine you get in your mailbox and probably put in your recycling bin every week.
Yeah.
Now has the third largest magazine circulation in the country, behind AARP, the magazine, and the AARP Bulletin.
I get those. I don't get Costco Connection.
You're not Costco members?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, that's one of the other perks there to that membership.
It's a big perk.
It is sent out to 15.4 million households. Readers, listen to this. Readers of the Costco Connection have an average family income of $179,000 a year, and almost 95% of them own a home. That's the highbrow clientele, actually, there at Costco.
That's why they send the magazines.
Yeah, well, I guess it's got recipes in it. I see it. I thumb through it, and then I pitch it. All right, finally, we'll end with this. The Dunedin Airport in New Zealand has sparked a global debate with this sign, limiting hugs to 3 minutes in its drop-off zone. We have a corresponding experience here at the Des Moines International Airport, where you pull over to the curb, you help somebody out, put their bags there for them, and you give them a hug. But apparently, people are just letting those hugs go on for too long. And it backs
3
up
minutes
traffic.
seems reasonable to me, Andy.
Yeah.
A hug time longer than 3 minutes is actually sex.
What are you doing? You can't. I mean, you've seen the person for probably several days, right? I mean, this isn't the first time you've seen them. This is not where you're picking them up. I don't think. Maybe you're picking them up there too. You're picking them up or you're dropping them off. But even still, if you're picking them up, you're going to get in the car with them.
Yeah, I gave Rob a little bro hug today as I dropped him off at the airport, and it was probably 3 to 5 seconds, and I was thinking, like, is this too long?
Yeah,
3 minutes?
You've either just had a whole bunch of time with this person, or you're about to have a whole bunch of time with this person.
That's too much.
Let's move it along. I think I actually like that. That is your more, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Our sponsor shout out of the day, WCI Pools and Spas. I saw Mr. and Mrs. WCI Pools and Spas at the game. Had a nice chat with them Saturday.
That's,
it was
Chad
wonderful to
Hubbard
see
and
them.
his wife. Yeah. He's a really
They're
nice guy.
always so nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was great to see them, and we appreciate them being with us for so long. They might be the lowest maintenance people I've ever known. They're just happy.
They've been with us, I think, the longest.
Yeah, been with us a long time.
He will be at our house in the next few weeks here as we get our spa ready for winter.
Time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. We call it the AD Squared.
Powered by Game Day Men's Health. Check them out in Ankeny. That's where I go. You can also go to West Des Moines out in University, or if you're in the eastern part of the state, North Liberty. I like going in there. I'm excited to go in every Thursday, and they have a cool little waiting area with sports on, and the people are so nice. Check them out, Game Day Men's Health. Arizona State, Murph, your team lost at Cincinnati Saturday. And after the game, head coach Kenny Dillingham knew exactly what the problem was.
You would hope that you can make, a kick, one of those, but our kicking game's atrocious. So if you can kick and you're at Arizona State, email me, right? We're going to have kicking tryouts on Monday. So bring it on, kicking tryouts Monday. Let's go. Yeah, I'm dead serious. We're going to put it out on our social. We're going to have a kicking tryout on Monday. We got to find somebody who can make a field goal.
So Colin Murphy, your number is up. Now, Dillingham did apologize yesterday for kind of being that blunt and being that direct about one position. It was obviously a whole team loss, but that's why you get these coaches in the post game. He was riled up.
I'm glad he apologized, just because there was no way to separate that shade from the kicker who was trying, and he was, really calls him out. But this is the only position you can hold open tryouts for on a college campus, and you might find somebody who becomes your kicker. Like Colin and his buddies are trying to talk their friend Fionn, who's from Germany and plays soccer. They were trying to talk him into going to tryouts today. I don't know if he did, but I'll report back Wednesday. It is time for our Quickie Poll results, presented by, when you know it, WCI Pools and Spas.
Will Kirk Ferentz now switch to Brendan Sullivan at quarterback? Not should he, will he? 95% of the vote say he won't do it.
No.
We might be able to have a poll, do you like free money? And not have it be 95%. That is a pretty decisive Quickie poll, one of the all-timers for being one-sided. Well, thank you for being part of Murph and Andy. Another long show today. I don't know. We're going to be at 3 hours before
we
long.
are. I don't know. We got an undefeated football team, huh?
Let
it fly while we can.
Some of us do.
Yeah.
Our audience does.
That's right. You can help us by leaving a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Give us a thumbs up if you feel like it. We'd love it. It helps. You can find us wherever you find Iowa everywhere. Please like and subscribe. Invite friends. We want everybody. We're back Wednesday, and we hope you are too.